a long-running game show that poses the answers as clues and only accepts responses in the form of a question. And it involves a lot of math. What is Jeopardy? Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I could not resist that intro. Today we're going to be talking about math and Jeopardy, and I look forward to that. I'm going to be talking about how math is used all over the place in Jeopardy. I'm going to go over the basic rules of how to play Jeopardy, and I am going to focus on the gameplay for the most part for this video, but I am going to talk about other avenues of Jeopardy as well. And I'm going to talk about my experience with Jeopardy. I almost said Jedi. I don't know why, but Jeopardy. All right, so you all may be familiar with the rules, you may not be, but either way, humor me, and let's talk about how math is at its core either way, you know? So with Jeopardy, you have 3 contestants playing 3 rounds, and in those rounds you have regular Jeopardy, single Jeopardy, then you have double Jeopardy, and you have final Jeopardy. And in that first round, and in the second round, you have 6 categories with 5 clues in each of them. With modern Jeopardy, the way that's structured is in that first round, it's each clue starts, each category starts with 200 for their clues, and then goes up by 200 until we get to the 5th clue in that category. So if we have one category, that first clue is going to be $200, worth $200, and then the following one will be 400, then 600, then 800, and then 1,000. And then we jump ahead to double Jeopardy, and it's $400, then 800, then 1,200, then 1,600, and then 2,000. And so that's how each column is situated. And speaking of that, so you have those 6 rows, 5 columns, and that's your setup, forming a rectangle. And just with everything I just said, there's math in that. And you have the idea of a daily double, in which case you can double the amount of money you have if you guess correctly. So you're wagering a bet, and if you don't have that much, you can still make it big because you can bet to the highest category. So like in single Jeopardy, if your score is low, let's say you just have 200 at the moment, but you get the daily double, then you can go up to 1,000. And so you have one daily double in that first round of Jeopardy, and then when you get to double Jeopardy, you have 2 daily doubles that you could stumble across. So you have those things, and then you have final Jeopardy, in which case you can bet. There's some sort of minimum. I think it's $5. $5 until you're like maximum amount, and you get 1 clue. And so with all of this, right, with your 3 contestants, they are buzzing in to get their right to oh my god, I'm sorry, it was in my head, but like they're buzzing in so they could try to answer the question by asking the question, because that's the whole thing with Jeopardy, right? Like you're given the answer, and then you have to ask the question. So they're given the right to do that, and if you're the player, you have to get the right timing, right? And there's math in that too, in addition to just how I described the gameplay. There's math in playing that buzzer. You got to be quick on it, right? But you also have to be prepared to have the answer. So it helps to like practice and practice and practice, right? And you also have to have a good and functioning buzzer, and I'm sure they check those things regularly. But there's math in how all that goes. And then when you're playing, right, they film up to 5 games in a day, right? So if you're someone who wins, you just have to brace yourself, because you might tire out as that goes on. But my whole thing is just like with how to play Jeopardy there's a lot of math involved. And that's not even counting the categories or times where there's like a math category or math question, right? Um, which those times happen. But yeah, so there's a lot of math and like how the game is structured, right? And the idea is, you're there to win money, and there's math in that, and betting properly, and being quick in that buzzer, because you could have all knowledge in the world, but if you're not quick enough on the buzzer, you're not gonna get in. But you also don't want to get up to the buzzer and freeze, right? But there's math in that strategy, and then like how you're playing, right? Because you could be someone who is playing conservatively, and maybe you start off the game with the low clues, right? Because you don't want to risk that much. But you could have someone else who like they don't care. They want to do like the higher clues, right? Because you could have someone like in that first round of Jeopardy just play, oh, let me go for all of them, $1,000 clues, and they get that right. Well then, that's an issue for you. And as you're playing, if someone does get it wrong, they lose that amount of money, right? And you have a chance to steal. And likewise, if you got it wrong after that, someone else would have a chance to steal. And so, you move on when someone gets it right or no one's getting it, right? Like, but yeah, there's math in how you play, how you wager, and psychological effects of that. And I think that's all pretty cool, right? And there's math in how everything is set up from the set to the lighting in said set to the sound design, and there's math in the music, how it's composed, how long it goes on for, and what it indicates, right? And the two biggest elements of that are the opening theme and the final Jeopardy music, right? And they all convey something to you, and music was used to compose those, and things have to be mixed at the right volumes. And there's some like specific sound effects associated with I almost said Jedi again. Why? There's some specific sound effects associated with Jeopardy, right? And there's math in that too. And then not only that, right, but there's math just like in how the show is filmed, how long it's filmed for. Because if you're watching it, it runs for a half an hour with commercials, but episodes run from like 22 to 26 minutes. And then like there's a lot of math and how it's evolved over time. And again, it's a really long running series. For a lot of people who are thinking about the modern Jeopardy, right? That started in 1984 with Alice Trebek, who hosted that until he passed. But Jeopardy was a thing before that. The original Jeopardy started in '64, if I recall correctly. So it's been around for a long time, pushing 40 years. But it's gone, it's come back. But the one in '84 is the longest consistent one, right? And that's interesting. And then like the rules have changed. Not too much, but like some rules have changed. One of the big ones is how long people could stay on. Originally, a person could stay on for 5 games, right? And then if they weren't defeated, they were able to, be done, be undefeated, and go on to the Tournament of Champions. But at the turn of this new millennium, that changed, where they cut off that limit. And so over time, since then, we've seen people do some crazy feats. And Jeopardy, I was going to do a Math and Jeopardy video at some point or another, but it's been especially on my mind with the Tournament of Champions, and that's a whole nother thing, right? Math and how that all works. In any case, Jeopardy is an awesome game, and again, it's been super long running, and math is just baked into how it works, how it functions, how the game is played, how you strategize about that game. And there's been like different spin-offs over the years, different parodies and mentions of it, and different media. And speaking of that, SNL, they have their version of Jeopardy in that, and with Black Jeopardy in particular, that episode of Chadwick Boseman, that was awesome because he was Black Panther right now, and it's just it's hilarious. I'm gonna leave a link to that in the description for the record. But yeah, so Jeopardy, it's been on for a long time, and I've been watching that with my family for years. Like even to this day, right? Like when I go over and I visit, I'll watch that with them. So it's been big in my family, and it's big in a lot of other people's families, and that's pretty cool. And again, it can't happen without math, right? And I think that's pretty cool. And there's just so much more you could talk about with it, and I encourage you to do so. I'd be glad to talk about it, hear about your experiences with Jeopardy. But yeah, so that is it. My Math and Jeopardy video. I hope you had a good time with it. Hope you think about it a little differently. And yeah, feel free to discuss some things. Professor Prime out.